Good morning from Winnipeg, Canada, the audience of Conflict and Resilience Research Institute. I welcome all of you to today's special episode with our intern supported and funded by MyTech from University of Winnipeg. The audience, before I begin, let me do the treaty recognition. Conflict and Resilience Research Institute Canada is located on original lands of Anishinaabe, Cree, Oji-Cree, Dakota, and Dene people, and on the homelands of Métis Nation. We all are promise bound to work together with our Indigenous brothers and sisters within the true spirit of truth and reconciliation. The audience, as I briefly alluded to, we have a special guest and our intern from Ukraine, Mariana Bahlai, and she's working as an intern with us, as I said, funded by MyTech Global Research Link and from University of Winnipeg. We are so proud to have her with us. Before I hand over to us, our today's objective is to listen to the workshop that she worked very hard to organize. And we moved it to online because we want to keep a record so that we can use it subsequently in our future programs and projects that we might get. Today's session is also prepared by Jadian Wardrop, our CRICS intern, who has worked collaboratively with Mariana. And I'm really grateful to both of you, Jadian and Mariana. So today we are going to have this workshop for around 50 minutes, 55 minutes stop, and then we'll wrap up and you will find this video in our YouTube channel. Please do subscribe so that you can see the important research finding that Mariana is going to share with us. And so it is time to invite Mariana to the session so that she can take the ownership. And also I'd request Mariana, can you briefly introduce yourself? Who are you? When did you come? And why did you come? And why it is important to discuss and work on this project as a young budding journalist. So the audience, without further ado, Mariana Bahlai. Mariana, go ahead. Unmute the mic.
Yeah, thank you. So hi everyone, my name is Mariana. I'm a Ukrainian student. So currently I am in Winnipeg as a MyTech intern, but I'm studying journalism in Lviv National University in Ukraine. So here my project is based on disinformation and fighting propaganda and especially providing people with tools for media literacy, because we all need to understand that, especially now during the Russian war in Ukraine, media literacy is necessary for everyone. And I hope that my presentation will provide you with as many tools as possible, and of course explain you why it's so important to be media literate in 21st century. So yeah, I guess we can start, right? Okay, so types of disinformation and media literacy as a tool to debunk it. So imagine the situation. You wake up in the morning, pick up your phone and check the news. Open Telegram, Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, and this is the first thing you came across in the morning. Zelensky agreed to give Western Ukraine to Poland in exchange to military aid. Or maybe even this one. Zelensky double was spotted next to Biden. Or maybe even worse, Budanov died after a missile attack. Preparations are being made for the burial in Kiev. So you're reading this and you begin to panic because how is it possible at all? Lviv is now in the hands of Poland, Budanov is dead, and there is two Zelensky in total. You can call relatives in desperation and your faith in victory fades. And of course, over time, you calm down, check other Telegram or Twitter channels, and see that all the news mentioned above is nothing but disinformation, or in other words, lies. In the one hand, you are happy. On the other hand, it was a pretty desperate moment. After all this could be avoided if we would check the news before believing it. This is the essence of media literacy, which we will talk about today in detail. So actually, what is media literacy? First of all, media literacy is a skill of set that promotes critical engagement with messages produced by the media. Being media literate means being able to find what we are looking for, choose what we need, and determine how reliable that information is. In other words, media literacy is about the ability to consume quality information, to be able to identify fakes and competently verify information when necessary. I guess I will also repeat the same definition, but in Ukrainian. So, що ж таке медіаграмотність? Само собою, це сукупність знань, навичок та умінь, що дозволяють нам грамотно аналізувати та критично перевіряти і оцінювати інформацію. Відповідно, медіаграмотність передбачає розуміння аналізу того, як медіа функціонують у суспільстві та який вплив вони мають. Відповідно, бути медіаграмотним означає бути спроможним знайти те, що ми шукаємо, вибрати те, що нам потрібно, і визначити, наскільки надійною є ця інформація. Відповідно, бути медіаграмотним – це в першу чергу не дозволяти себе обманувати за допомогою новин, за допомогою інформації, оскільки в 21 столітті інформація є дуже сильний інструмент. So, let's talk about media literacy index of Ukrainians. And for instance, in March 2021, the agency InfoSapiens conducted a comprehensive study, Index of Media Literacy of Ukrainians. So we can see the result that actually media literacy of 15% of Ukrainians is low, a third, 33% below average. For also a big percent, the audience has a higher than average level of media literacy, and only 8% has high media literacy index. As we can see, as many as 42% of Ukrainians never check information and consume media content without doubting its authenticity. Actually, that's a pretty, I wouldn't say that it's like desperate result, but at the same time, there is a big room for improving, and I do hope that in the future Ukrainian media literacy index will only grow. Що ж, знову-таки скажу, напевно, те, що важливо розуміти, що рівень медіаграмотності українців, він зростає в порівнянні з попередніми роками. Тим не менш, все одно низький рівень є у 15% українців, що все-таки має бути значно меншою кількістю. Проте 44% мають рівень вище середнього, і проте лише 8% мають високий рівень. Тобто, знову ж таки, і все не так жахливо, як могло би бути, як було раніше, до того, коли медіаграмотність почала займати дійсно важливе місце в житті українців. Тим не менш, все одно є місце, куди рости, і сподіваюся, що в майбутньому це ми досягнемо тих результатів, які мають країни з значно вищим рівнем медіаграмотності. At the same time, Canada has much higher level of media literacy. For instance, there is Media Literacy Index 2023 of the European Policies Initiative. And last year, they began to include Canada in the expanded Media Literacy Index for international comparisons. And there are like several indicators. They are used to measure the media literacy, and it is the quality of education, also media freedom, trust in society, and the use of e-democracy tools. So all countries are divided in 5 clusters, and the ranking placed countries in different groups, from the most resilient to the disinformation to the least resilient. Canada, in contrast to many other countries and in contrast to Ukraine as well, from the very beginning was placed in the high position. So we can see that Canada is actually on 7th position. It's like pretty high. It's like top 10. And of course, the same result was in the year 2022. And I guess in the future, Canada will only improve its media literacy. Also, at the same time, we can see that Ukraine is positioned on 36. It's not that low, I would say. However, it's much better than it was previous year because comparing to 2022, we are now higher from cluster 4 to cluster 3. And we are the same cluster with, for instance, Greece or Cyprus or even Hungary and Italy. So Of course, the war in which we are now is complicating the situation even more. A ton of propaganda and disinformation and misinformation pours on Ukrainians every day, especially from the Russian side. And in today's times of war, the ability of citizens to think critically and defend against manipulation is also a matter of national security, especially in Ukraine. In modern conditions, the ability to build one's own narratives that unite society determines the place of states in the world. Media literacy is one of the keys to a country's resistance to hostile influences. At the same time, media literacy skills can strengthen the subjectivity of not only an individual, but also the state of society in general. And of course, talking about Ukraine, media literacy is hugely important because, again, there are also a lot of different narratives from Russia, which are aimed to separate Ukraine, to divide Ukraine into different fronts, so to speak. And of course, it's hugely important even in terms of national security. So, how do we become media literate? First of all, we need to understand that media literacy is a daily habit. We read news every day, we watch TV or listen to the radio, browse social networks every day and literally every minute. This flow of constant information is firmly rooted in our lives, and it is difficult for us to imagine ourselves without a phone at all. However, it is very easy to get lost in this amount of information. It is even easier to get lost in lies, which are abundant on the internet, unfortunately. In order to be media literate, we need to understand that false information can be spread on the internet, and we need to know how it could be done. And also, we need to understand how media can be pretty manipulative, and we can be manipulated at the same time. So some types of other false information are called one word, disinformation. It in turn can make on different forms and represent complete methods, which we will analyze in more detail today. So what is disinformation? Disinformation is distorted, deliberately false, provocative, and tendencious information, disseminated as true for the purpose of misleading the public, political opponents, competitors, etc. This information also refers to the process of disseminating distorted and deliberately false information in the mass media or in another way. Тож дезінформація це в першу чергу спотворена, свідомо неправдива, провокаційна інформація. Вона поширена з метою введення в оману громадськості, для того, аби маніпулювати людьми, і відповідно для того, аби, для прикладу, створювати політичних опонентів, це чи навпаки поширювати неправдиву інформацію проти них. Також інформацією називають сам процес поширення у ЗМІ чи у інший спосіб викривлених або свідомо неправдивих відомостей. It's very important to understand that disinformation and misinformation should not be confused, because disinformation is deliberately distorted news and misinformation is unintentional mistakes made by mass media. Тож важливо розуміти, що дезінформація – це не те саме, що мізінформація, тому що дезінформація – це навмисно поширена і викривлена інформація, в той час як мізінформація – це якісь помилки, які ЗМІ, можливо, допустили випадково чи просто не перевіривши інформацію, тобто це в першу чергу не навмисно. Саме тому мізінформація, вона зазвичай не має такої шкоди, як та сама дезінформація, яка є дуже добре продуманою. So, at the same time, we need to understand that the easiest way to spread disinformation is, of course, fake news. So, what is fake news? Fake news is a fake or imitation of news. To create fakes, media use altered or made-up stories, crazy conspiracy theories, hoaxes, fabricated photos, and videos. Despite this, fakes have a powerful influence on the minds of a large number of people. And as well as fake news are made up really very, I would say, in very detailed way. Fake news spreads like 6 times faster than the truth. And because of that, we can see how even like truthful information could be avoided, but fake news could be literally everywhere. Знову ж таки, фейкові новини – це, напевно, найбільш поширений спосіб для того, аби поширити дезінформацію, тому що фейкові новини – це підробка чи імітація новин, і вони зазвичай створені для того, аби поширити якісь змінені дані чи вигадані історії, якісь теорії змови, чи сфабриковані фото та відео. Незважаючи на це, фейки мають потужний вплив на свідомість великої кількості людей. Фейкові новини розлітаються у 6 разів швидше за правду, тому що вони дуже добре продумані, і в першу чергу вони продумані саме для того, аби задіти людей саме емоційно. Тому це потужний інструмент, з яким можна вплинути на думку людей, переконати їх в будь-якому факті. So why do people believe fakes? First of all, because of constant stream of information. News and social media feeds are updated every second. Not everyone is ready to check every new information. At the same time, the largest number of fakes is in social networks. Even when people suspect a lie, they still repost it, and that's how the lie spreads around the world. And all fakes that cause emotions automatically become true. Fakes are a person's visions. If a lie corresponds to a person's worldview with values, he will take it for the truth. Знову ж таки, чому люди вірять фейкам? По-перше, тому що постійний потік інформації не дозволяє нам перевіряти інформацію постійно. Ми не можемо перевіряти кожну новину. Через це, що є велика цифра фейкових новин в соціальних мережах, ми знову ж таки не можемо підозрювано ставитись до кожного повідомлення, яке ми бачимо, і ми його поширюємо навіть несвідомо. І зазвичай також фейкові новини, вони викликають в нас емоції. І люди зазвичай вважають, що якщо новина є емоційною, це означає, що вона є автоматично правдивою. Відповідно, через це люди просто поширюють її, навіть якщо вони не знають, що це точно правда. So how to check the news for fakes and manipulations? Even though we can't check every news, we can know how to understand if news is made deliberately to manipulate us, or is it just a mistake, or is it really true? There are a few ways to do that, and we will talk about them right now. So first of all, we need to pay special attention to the title. Quality media will never publish a news story with an emotional headline, highlight the word, caps, and make phrases out of context. So even this screenshot, you can see it's Ukrainian media 24 channel. Actually, it's pretty big Ukrainian outlet, and it's very, I would say, famous, especially in Western Ukraine. However, I honestly don't like their YouTube channel because their website is perfect. There are a lot of different good stories from the war, and not only, but their YouTube channel is made maybe for just views and for monetization, because even now you maybe can't understand Ukrainian language, but you can see all these red colors or these big words and different colors of pictures, etc. And actually, it's a perfect example of how media manipulate by titles, even though in the video there is no such information. Знову ж таки, першу чергу, для того, аби перевірити інформацію на фейки і маніпуляції, нам потрібно звертати увагу на заголовок. Тому що провідні медіа, вони ніколи не будуть давати ті заголовки своїм новинам чи матеріалам, які не відповідають тому, що відбувається безпосередньо в матеріалі. Для прикладу, 24 канал, який є дуже відомим в Україні, він зазвичай в своєму Ютубі поширює саме таку практику, і вона відверто не подобається багатьом, в тому числі мені, тому що ми можемо бачити, для прикладу, такі відео, як «Кремль догрався», «Путіна попередили», чи «Яке приниження, оце так», «ЗСУ атакують», «Повний розгром» тощо. Тобто ми розуміємо, що навіть безпосередньо в самих відео ми можемо глянути, що про те, що кажуть в заголовку, там навіть не згадують. І, відповідно, це все йде для привернення уваги, що, на жаль, є дуже поганим, тому що люди, які не мають цього навички перевіряти інформацію, вони просто вірять, що дійсно Кремль догрався чи ЗСУ атакують. Тим не менш, в реальності все може бути зовсім по-іншому. Next thing is read more than the headline and the title. Of course, if you read the news to the end, you can find that the headline is not related to the text of the news, or it does not contain any data that confirms its veracity. This often happens with the same unprofessional media, which will write in the title what is not in the material just to attract the attention of readers and get more views. Again, the same example as it was in previous slide with YouTube channels. Sometimes headline is just very different from the main topic of the material. Відповідно, нам треба читати більше, аніж лише заголовок, тому що зазвичай заголовок він не співпадає з основним матеріалом. В такий спосіб можемо розуміти, що заголовок був лише для привернення уваги, переглядів та прослуховувань, для прикладу. Third point is to check if the original sources is indicated. Usually such searches do not take much time because quality media always write where they got the information from at the very beginning. The media either attach screens of information or give a link to the original source. Actually, even now you can see two examples from Громадське and Radio Liberty. It's two pretty very famous, I would say, and very respectable Ukrainian media. And for instance, on the first screen, you can see, again in Ukrainian, but still you can see this word, third word is in blue. It means that there is a link to the first source. So of course we can simply click on this word and see the first source of the news. Second screen as well, you can see that there is some information, but there is also a screenshot at the top of it, and even link to the video where someone is telling some information. So you can check on your own and see if media provide you with the right information and right interpretation of this information. Знову ж таки, нам потрібно перевіряти завжди ресурси, тому що респектабельні медіа, вони зазвичай дають нам посилання на те, звідки вони беруть інформацію. Так, тут у нас є Радіо Свобода і Громадське, і відповідно ми бачимо, що Громадське дало лінк, вставило його в слові передала, тобто ми можемо побачити і прочитати самостійно, що Велика Британія передала Україні і коли. І так само Радіо Свобода, вони дали посилання на відео, де Ткаченко безпосередньо пояснює свою відставку. Тощо, відповідно, в такому випадку ми можемо інтерпретувати інформацію самостійно і перевірити, чи ми розуміємо її так, як нам подали безпосередньо медіа. The next one is check the original source. Because if you have the opportunity to go to the link to the original source, then do not be too lazy to do so. Again, usually each media presents the news in its own way. Someone misses important details, someone incorrectly translates or distorts what was said. If you want to be sure of the truth of the words, check them yourself. For instance, you can see here two screenshots as well. And at the end of August, the Russian publication New Inform published a news article with the following headline: The Washington Post, Zelensky was ready to resign and flee from Ukraine in the first days of the special operation. The news was also spread by the Russian Yandex, Russia Today, Gazeta.ru, and dozens of other Russian channels. It claimed that the Washington Post journalist had allegedly found that the president of Ukraine was going to leave the country in the beginning of the war. But in fact, the original article says that Western leaders advised Zelensky to leave Kyiv. He, in turn, said that he can do it only if the war ends, and he don't want to hold this position if, for instance, it could solve the war. However, he was not going to leave the country, so no one was going to run away from the war. And this is deliberately distortion of the quote, so to speak, like difficulties in translating into Russian. And that's why you should check every sources, especially if media could spread some by propaganda or disinformation. Відповідно, дуже важливо перевіряти початкове оригінальне джерело, тому що кожне медіа має таку характеристику, як подавати ту інформацію, яку воно вважає подавати чи вважає за головну. Так, для прикладу, було в російському New Informe, які написали про те, що Зеленський був готовий піти в відставку і втекти з України в перші дні спецоперації, що насправді є війною. Тим не менше, оригінальна медіа Washington Post написали про те, що західні лідери радили Зеленському покинути Україну, проте він відмовився. Тобто, це знову ж таки приклад того, як Росія по-своєму інтерпретує інформацію і як ми можемо бути, самі того не знаючи, без правильної інформації, як нами можуть маніпулювати. Next one is find out what other publications spread about the news. If no other reliable source reports the event, the news is most likely fake. This is also a good reason why you should read more than one publication or one Telegram channel. Also, of course, you can read one from every country, for instance, because every country as well can interpret news in its own way. So of course it's a really great tool to know what is right, what is wrong. Just read as many sources as possible, especially if the news is really very important or very big, and etc. Відповідно, нам потрібно також перевіряти те, що пишуть інші видання про якусь новину, тому що зазвичай, якщо лише одне видання написало про щось дійсно важливе, то може бути таке, що вони просто знову ж таки поширюють неправильну інформацію. Якщо новина дійсно важлива, то зазвичай її будуть поширювати всі видання. Це також чудова причина, чому ви повинні читати більше, ніж один телеграм-канал чи одну якусь інстаграм-сторінку, твіттер тощо. Читати стільки респектабельних медіа, скільки можна, тому що це дозволить вам порівнювати інформацію і як її доносять. And the last one is who is the author. Please familiarize yourself with the author's previous publications. His background will help you understand whether the author is really a journalist or whether he wrote fake articles before that. Now, during the war, there are especially many pages or channels that publish news, and not all of them are journalists. Therefore, before you start following someone, check some news according to the previous rules. This will help to understand whether a person can be trusted. Of course, there are a lot of different examples in Twitter when different authorities are publishing news. However, they are not even a journalist, so you simply can't trust them for 100%. Maybe they just share information from their own point of view, and this is how you can be manipulated. Тому дуже важливо читати і знати, кого ви читаєте, знати автора новин, яких ви читаєте, розуміти, що не всі люди є професійними журналістами, дехто може просто інтерпретувати інформацію по-своєму і поширювати її в своїх твіттерах, інстаграмах, чи телеграм-каналах, чи фейсбуках. Тому перед тим, як на когось підписуватись, на якесь видання, перевіряйте, кому воно належить, і читайте попередні статті, аби розуміти, стосовно попередніх пунктів, які я вже згадувала, розуміти, чи грамотні ці статті і ці матеріали. So, can you spot a fake? Here we have some examples of fake news, and I guess everyone can check if they can spot the fake. I will also briefly mention why this news is fake news. For instance, the first one, breaking. Leaked statement from Vladimir Putin says Russia will attack the United States with missiles. On the one hand, we can think that it's actually true news because it's New York Times, and we have this leaked statement. However, on the other hand, let's check who is the author. We can see that New York Times video doesn't even have verification in Twitter, so probably it's just a fake account. Again, this word breaking, it's also a small message that maybe it's not even an important news, but they just want to draw your attention. And of course, a leaked statement. We should also always have source of information, and a leaked statement is not a source. Anyone could say it, and it's not a reason to believe it. Next one was just informed that Zelensky is threatening to cancel elections in Ukraine and maintain martial law indefinitely in order to defend democracy. Again, was just informed. We need to know who informed and where this information was taken from, because it's not a reason to believe if someone just informed. If there were like video or maybe quote or someone from really authority and government, then we can believe. We can check and maybe believe. But in this case, it's just manipulation. Also, next one is from Telegram channel of Kirill Budanov, and we can see that he wrote that successful operation was carried out in the occupied Crimea. Actually, it's very funny because even here you can see that a lot of Ukrainian media, 24 channels and LBUA and even Radio Liberty, so really respectful media, they spread this information. They published this news that Budanov proved that Operation in Crimea is operation of Ukraine and that everything was pretty successful. However, it was manipulation and it wasn't true because official Budanov's account has a verification in Telegram. So you can see that there you can see verification, and on the previous like you don't see it, just Ukrainian flag. So it was just fake account, and even the biggest Ukrainian media, they were manipulated. Also, next one is Ukraine.ru. So it's like a Russian source from the news of Ukraine. I don't know, and there is some news like German media outlet Stern reports that Budanov in coma, and of course, on the one hand, we can believe it because German media outlet reported, so there is a source. However, on the other hand, if there would be a source, then maybe we would have a link to this source. So even there you can see that it's a fake because German Stern refuted the fake story about Budanov's serious injury. They said that it was fake. The information that Budanov was in a coma turned out to be unreliable. Of course, it turned out to be unreliable because even here we don't have a link to the article or to the news or publish what was published by Stern. It's just someone who interpret it's like this. Right. Next one. Next one is also how media can manipulate with different information. For instance, Strana.ua, it's also like Ukrainian media outlet, but I guess it's also sponsored by a Russian side. They wrote that Poroshenko left Ukraine with his family. And if you read this news, it's in Russian here, but they said that Poroshenko left Ukraine with his family. They like two parts of his family left Ukraine on different days, and they crossed the border. However, we can understand that it was only a wrong interpretation of this news because Poroshenko also let everyone know that he was going to Turkey and to just abroad in order to spend some time with her, like here, like as holidays, vacation. So it wasn't like he was leaving Ukraine or like running from Ukraine. I don't know. He was like going to vacation with his family. And of course, for readers from Russia or from other countries, like they had such a picture like Poroshenko was leaving Ukraine because everything was wrong with country, with him, I don't know. And they could interpret this information really not the right way. As well, here you can see that Putin was suspended or the best day for the last month, Zelensky did the impossible, details at the link. What's the main point of this news? It's in Telegram, and here you can see it's in Facebook. The main point is that these channels that just want you to subscribe to their Telegram channels or YouTube channels, and if you want to see if Putin was suspended, for instance, you should follow the link to YouTube. The same next one, if you want to know what Zelensky did, so it was impossible, you should click on the link. And what's even worse is that this second link is very like weird, and like you can't trust it. So maybe it's even like a virus or something like that. So never click on link in such news. Also, next thing I would like to talk is another type of disinformation is psychological operation. In Ukrainian, we also call it IPSO, like in short, and which appeared like this psychological operation appeared in our society with the beginning of the full-scale invasion. For instance, since February 24th, there are obvious signs that Russia is providing this psychological attack on Ukrainians. In addition, they try to use our activity, and the key message to which such Russian incursions and actions ultimately go is that the government and the armed force are powerless against the Russian invasion. So what is a psychological operation? First of all, it is informational and psychological operation which is aimed at influencing the attitudes of groups in society. At the next stage, the spread of such attitudes will directly affect the actions of representatives of the same society. IPSO is used both in peacetime and wartime, especially now during the war. During the current war, it is about providing the aggressor with optimal conditions for taking control of the territories, that is, doing everything so that Ukrainians do not resist the Russian invaders. The obvious goal of Russia now is demoralization and panic. Знову ж таки, що ж таке ІПСО? Я думаю, ми всі про це чули впродовж цих майже 2 років повномасштабного вторгнення. ІПСО – це в першу чергу інформаційно-психологічна операція, так воно принаймні розшифровується. Відповідно, основна мета – це дати такий психологічний тиск на суспільство, вплинути на настрої груп в суспільстві і, відповідно, потім поширювати ті настрої та ті погляди, які можуть позначитися на діях представників цього суспільства. Для прикладу, так ІПСО застосовують і в мирний час, і в воєнний час. І ми можемо навіть пам'ятати, що в перші дні війни часто поширювали таке ІПСО, що політики покинули Україну, що Зеленський втік, що Збройні сили України здаються. Це в першу чергу було поширено саме росіянами і для того, аби зламати українців і віру взагалі в якусь не те, що перемогу, а хоча б в якийсь позитивний кінець для України. Here you can find some examples. Firstly, let's have a look on this screenshot. It's from Russian Telegram channel, and also you can see there are like a lot of conclusions from the first day of the Russian full-scale invasion, and there are such sentences as Russia is waiting for the capitulation of Ukraine, deputies leave Ukraine, fuel crisis. Of course, we can understand that if Ukrainians were reading this news, they would definitely believe it, and they would be desperate because everyone is leaving Ukraine, deputies, and there is fuel crisis. But of course, we need to understand that it was just manipulation. Also, there were information about markings on the road and buildings in the first days of the war, and it was also made in order to make people panic. And of course, they were created in order to plunge Ukrainians into uncomfortable psychological situations, to sow panic and fear. And this IPSO worked well then because everyone was looking for these markings on the buildings, on the road, and trying to destroy them. Also, Russia's missile attack on a building in Dnipro, it was like in January, and it is like a great example of IPSO. Alexei Arestovich, an advisor to the office of the president of Ukraine, stated on the YouTube channel that the building at Dnipro was allegedly hit by a Russian missile shot down by Ukrainian air defense forces. Russian media immediately used the following statement. They say that even Zelensky confirms that Russia is not guilty for anything, and Ukraine itself kills its own citizens. First of all, Alexei Arestovich is pretty, I would say, like not the best person in Ukrainian media, because during the first days of the war he was like very reliable, as everyone was thinking, because he was talking to people that everything is right, everything will be great. But later he started to say different wrong things, even like something with like Russian propaganda, I would say. And even here, when this building was destroyed, he mentioned on his YouTube channel that it was Ukrainian missile who destroyed it. And of course, for Russia, it was a perfect example that even like Ukrainians understand that Russia is not responsible of anything. However, it was manipulation. Of course, maybe you have some more examples in mind, but I also found something. For instance, on the first screen, you can see that Vinnytsia Patrol Police in their Twitter, they wrote that attention important. The enemy realized that the Ukrainians were destroying the markings of the buildings, therefore now uses phones with enabled geolocation. Please everyone turn off geolocation on your phones. This is very serious. Geolocation enabled could cost of your life. And you can see even that in Facebook, it was also shared by verified account of Ukrainian government, and it says very important attention and all these marks, red marks. However, it was also manipulation, because it was just a Photoshop, and everyone was sharing this screen, but no one checked if this information was really published on the page of Ukrainian government. The next one is from Telegram channel of Solovyov. Solovyov is one of the main Russia journalists, but very famous, who spread propaganda in every publication, I would say. And here you can see that he also published that photos of ballots appeared on the internet, allegedly made in the administration building of the Lviv region. Ukrainians are invited to vote on the issue of joining the region to Poland. Of course, it was manipulation, and he was like making joke because of it. Then Ukraine now is divided between Russia and Poland, and Lviv is part of European Union finally, as we wanted. But of course, it was just manipulation, and it was. Believe me, I'm from Lviv, and we didn't have such thing. So of course, it's just psychological operation. Of course, psychological operation could be also from the officials. Here you can see that even Lukashenko was saying that people of Wagner want to go on excursion to the west, to Poland, and Lukashenko told it Putin. Also, Lukashenko told that the transfer of Ukrainian territories to Poland is unacceptable. This is done in order to join Ukraine in NATO in parts. Again, as Solovyov was joking previously. And Putin on the unification of Poland, Lithuania, and Ukraine. It is being done for the further occupation of Ukraine. In Poland, they forgot that they got a lot of Western lands thanks to Stalin's position. Of course, it is also made in order to make Ukrainian, and not only Ukrainians, but Polish people and people of Lithuania panic. Many of you might also have seen the video in the first days of the war where Zelensky says that he is resigning from the post of president. Ukraine is capitulating and Russia is supposedly victorious. Often, in order to spread a psychological operation, or IPSO, the enemy can use another type of disinformation, and the most advanced tool is deepfake. And this video of Zelensky is a great example of deepfake. I guess we can share it here and show our guests how it was in reality and how it was published. I guess. I can stop sharing and you can. Oh, we can hear it. I don't hear the sound. Maybe you can fix it, or if not, then we can just take a look like this. Yes, so it was an example of Zelensky and this deepfake of Zelensky. We also have another one. It's example of President of United States, Barack Obama, and it was like pretty old video, but still very famous and very funny. I hope if we can hear it now with the sound, you will understand why it's funny. If not, you can later also check it. Yeah, so it was a great example of both deepfakes. Moreover, what's funny is that in the second video, you were able to see how the author of the video was taking part into creating. He just changed the voice and face, but it was like pretty professional, and it was hard to understand if it's the same video or is it less manipulation. So how do deepfakes work? First of all, it's just a method of synthesizing images of different people using artificial intelligence. It is used to superimpose already existing videos or images on the initial ones. Відповідно, діпфейки працюють у цей спосіб, що просто йде накладка звуків, відео, і відповідно в такий спосіб ми можемо чути записаний голос, проте штучний інтелект зробить так, що це буде голос якоїсь певної вже існуючої людини. І основна мета для цього це знову ж таки дезорієнтувати людей, поширити мізінформацію чи зробити якісь репутаційну шкоду іншим людям. So how to identify deepfakes and protect ourselves? Of course, there are some tools. First of all, you need to pay attention to skin color. You need to pay attention to edges of the mask, to facial occlusions, distorts objects or closes them, image inconsistency, different focus lengths, and blurred face. Also good to look closely, and it's just the main way to understand if video is true or not. So it was some examples, you were able to see them. Also, we have informative rumors. It's also one kind of disinformation, but the difference is that they are generally spread by not professional media, by people. And again, you can check them pretty easily. You just need to trust them only if you know the person who shared it. You need to understand if this information cause emotions. Is it a good emotions or better one? And of course, you need to understand that you need to trust only science and people who are professional in this field, not just everyone on the Instagram, for instance. Also, friends are not always experts, and you need to be careful with photos and videos and careful with numbers because it could be pretty easily manipulated. There are some examples in Ukrainian social media, especially that the government began to pay Ukrainians a lot of money, or new law has been assigned and law has been adopted. Ukrainians will top up their mobile accounts by 500 Ukrainian hryvnia for free. Of course, it's manipulation, the same as it was in Viber or in Facebook or in Telegram channels. Here you can see examples. Of course, for that, we can use fact checking. It's like the main tool for media literacy. And fact checking has a lot of different tools how to prove the information. If it's wrong, is it true? And here we will talk about that in more details. First of all, there are a lot of different sources for that, even on the Ukrainian internet space. You can see I here mentioned some of them. It's actually even national. It was made by a government. It's declarations.com or Open Data Board, Smart Tendon, Prozoro, Unified State Register of Declarations. Here you can see and check everything you want about main public registries for citizens or maybe declarations, find them in database and check how money are spent. Also, there are a lot of different tools on the world internet network, I would say. For instance, there is a Wayback Machine. I personally like this tool because here you can find how certain web page looked back in time, because it's like internet archive of over billions of web pages. You can simply click on this page and find what news it was publishing years ago. Also, here you can see, for instance, YouTube data viewer. Maybe some of you know about it. You can also check information about video, how it was recorded, and etc. And there are some sites like Snoops or Fact Check or Accept Data. You can check information if information is not fake. Check English language news for truthfulness and see time of shooting or technical data and so on. Also, there are a lot of different national projects in every country generally, and of course, we have one in Ukraine as well. And I would like to talk about Filter. It's like national project of media literacy, and maybe that's actually because of them why a level of media literacy in Ukraine has increased in recent years. And Filter is national media literacy project that works with the Ministry of Culture and Information Policy of Ukraine to increase Ukrainians' resilience to misinformation. Here you can see that this project was founded in 2021, and the main goal was to raise the level of public awareness of the importance of developing media literacy skills. And for that, Filter uses different instruments for providing opportunities. First of all, they use such tool. It's in Ukrainian. In English, you can't find such tool because it's the list of regional media outlets of Ukraine. And you can trust them. For instance, there is Crimean. You can see also from Kyiv. You can see from Lviv, Zaporizhia, and other cities. Donetsk region, for instance. And there are a lot of different media outlets and sources where you can find the right information. Filter is also known for its tests and games, and on their website you can find a lot of different games and check even if you are media literate. For instance, everyone who wanted to test themselves to see if they know how to fight fakes and distinguish enemy propaganda was able to take part in a test. It was like national test on media literacy, and there were like total of 32,000 participants who took part in this media literacy test. and 17,000 of them managed to answer all the questions. Even students of my university and of my school were taking this test. Here you can also have a try and let us know what is your level of media literacy. In addition, I would just to conclude that it literally helped Ukraine to be more media literate because, as I have already mentioned, Ukraine was in the year 2022, Ukraine was placed in the first place of the fourth cluster. It was like 36th position. However, this year it's already in third cluster and it's 36th position. And the same as Italy, for instance, Greece and Slovakia. Also, now we can show you this website and you can just have a look in both Ukrainians and English languages. Yeah. So that's the main page. You can also maybe change language in the right corner in the top. Yeah, to see in English. Okay, it didn't change. Oh yeah. So there are first of all some news about filter, about media literacy, what is going on, and which courses you can take. Also, you can click on media education tab on the here, and you can find there a lot of different information for teachers and students. Of course, it's a great tool for schools to develop media literacy from the very beginning, from the young ages. Also, if you want to spend some time with your child in order to see if they are media literate, you can find sources as parent. Here is the map I was talking about. You can also find a lot of different information and verified sources in different regions of Ukraine. Yeah, and a lot of games and different videos also was published here. For instance, even some publications from Instagram for TikTok. This page is pretty popular among scholars, among students, and Filter is also working with a lot of different other Ukrainian media outlets to promote media literacy. And that's a great tool for everyone to check how you can improve your media literacy. Yeah, so let's continue. Yes, one second. So it was Filter, and actually the same website you can find even in Canada. I know about Newswise and also provides a lot of different great information. And here you can see just some screenshots from this media literacy index that Ukraine was placed in 2022, like in this fourth cluster, but now it's third one. And of course, it's perfect because we understand that in the future we will even reach, I hope, the first clusters. So today it was a pretty informative lecture, I do believe, because we talk about disinformation first of all, and different type of disinformation. For instance, fake news and why do we believe in it, how to check it. Also about psychological operation, also about deepfakes. You were able to see videos as example. Also informative rumors, and of course, it's very important to pay attention to fact checking. You were provided with some tools to verify news or information, and some of them you can also find on our national project filter, as well as different games and tests, etc. So I hope that now you really can say that you are more media literate, and how you can check it. You can simply scan this QR code and to know if it's right, how you improved your media literacy. Thank you for attention.
Thank you, Mariana. I think quite comprehensive presentation. Well done. Excellent. So the audience, let me have some question. Sadman, I believe you had a question for Mariana. Go ahead.
Sir, yes, sir. So, hi, thank you for the nice presentation. So, I was like thinking about you have covered AIs and many more things, but in the upcoming time, AI is going to beat everything, like the skin color, everything, and in some cases, some diffusions are quite near now, kind of like near real. And on top of that, there is an AI which you can pay and which can actually generate voices. Like I am talking, and if I say that I would talk like Donald Trump, the voice signature is going to match Donald Trump. I'm talking like this, I have an accent, that person would sound like Donald Trump. So it's kind of like getting more and more complex. So from that part, in it was maybe it was maybe Mr. Joseph Goebbels, the propaganda minister of maybe maybe of Hitler. Yeah, propaganda minister of Hitler. He said that a lie repeated 1,000 times becomes a truth. And here where the main game actually starts, because you might find many bots, or what we can say fake accounts, and if those fake accounts share more and more fake newses, and what happens around the world, it might be not in Ukraine, or it might not be in other countries, but in most of the countries people are not that much literate in terms of media and others. For instance, if I take any country, like if I take the countries which have most population around the world, Brazil, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, or China, or this kind of countries, here people are not that much of educated, but they have skills. So that gap of education can actually create a negative term when you are seeing the number of likes and shares. And the number of likes and shares are basically kind of like an algorithm which actually makes those posts visible in everywhere. So what do you think about this algorithm and other things about the media monopoly, regarding the social media monopoly, which is being played quite well quite well in the realm? So what do you think about it? How to prevent this one, that the fake news which has been shared 1,000 times appearing more and more to the people who are not educated, and boom, you have the false established.
Yeah, should I answer that, right?
Yes, please go
Uh,
ahead.
yeah, right. First of all, of course, you are completely right because like education plays an important role in media literate process. However, we need to understand that it's only like the main goal of country, and the government should pay attention to it. Without proper education we can't talk about media literacy, of course, but as I have already mentioned, it's a national security. It's a question of national security, and media literacy in this point should have a lot of attention. So of course, if like you have a great population and they are not such good educated, maybe that's also a reason why we should ask the same Instagram or same TikTok to provide some policy where you can't just spread disinformation. And in this term, even Twitter, we know that Elon Musk he like changed some rules, and now it's even easier to spread disinformation because you can't ban people or something like that. But again, it's only a responsibility of country because it's a question of national security. And maybe later that's also responsibility of the same Instagram or other websites. So we can't solve it. We just need to pay attention to it and remind our government to work on this question.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
I have another thing going on. As you are a student of mass media and communication, so communication, now this is an interesting part. So what we have seen previously, so there was one famous author. He's a writer, and he was also a professor in a university in Bangladesh. He said that the intellectuals cannot reach the masses because of the way they use the language. So the thing is kind of like that. When we saw Donald Trump getting elected for the elections, it was because his tone and his dialect and his how he delivered his speech. So from this part, there is one interesting thing that what is happening around the world is that there are many YouTubers, there are many influencers, and there are also intellectual people in the social media. Everyone is free, everyone has the freedom to speak. So the people who are much more speaking in the language of the masses are getting more and more famous, and these people are being used as marketing tool, or marketers, or as a tool where people use them. Like some people even promote fake products. even they don't exist, or they are much more harmful. People buy it. And in some countries, these people has more craze than than a movie star. You won't like imagine. So this kind of people, there are high chances that if you put any message like and as an intellectual, I want to spread an propaganda against any government or any person, if I write it on chat gpt to say it, or write a script like that person, and chat gpt or any ai can generate that type of script, and as a result, as a person, I can generate a disinformation in that language, which will be accessible, or which will be easily understandable to the mass people. So what are your views on that?
Yeah, actually, you're right. Like in modern society, such people who have like great audience, etc., they can influence people. But I don't think that we can do everything against it. The only thing we can do is again to become media literate, and it's only the only way just can assure us that we are not manipulated. You can't. Like you can't stop following other people, you can't stop communicating with them, because again we are society, we live in society. But at this point we just need to know how information works, how we can be manipulated, and why we are manipulated by others. So in this way it's now our responsibility to understand how it works. And in this way that's why media literacy is so important, because when you know how it works and how to check information, it doesn't matter who are you following or who are you listening to. If I know this information is false, I don't believe it, even if it's Donald Trump, or is it like Zelensky, or is it someone else. Like it just doesn't matter, I know that I am right, and in this way that's how it works.
Good, excellent. Thank you, Sadman, for the thought-provoking questions. I think these are all pertinent, especially in the era of AI. This creation of fake information, disinformation, is becoming cheaper, easier, flexible, and is ever more penetrating into our social media sphere. And as Sadman rightly mentioned, I think his second question is very important, that how do you reach out to mass people? Because we can talking and having an intellectual discussion, workshop, seminar is one thing, and is very separate and different when you talk about real people, those who are consuming those information and getting confused and getting bombarded with this information. So these are two different things, and I think Mariana rightly mentioned that this is a bigger challenge that we have to face as a society. The audience, thank you very much on behalf of CRIC to Mariana Bahlai for enlightening us. She's a very young journalist, and coming out of Ukraine, focusing her energy on the Russian invasion of Ukraine. And she has put up wonderful slides. We'll put these up in our website in the future. If you need, just visit. She has already curated so many stuffs, and these are useful, especially the QR code that she mentioned in our last slide. So use those things to check your level of media literacy. And Mariana is going to be with us till October, and she's going to arrange another at least one workshop with us, and hopefully we'll get more response and more insights from her research work here with us. So Mariana, any last word? Anything for our audience?
Yeah, I just can say thank you to everyone who were listening to this webinar. I prepared it. I guess it was really useful for you. And yes, please be media literate, and it's the only way for you to not be manipulated in such time. And that's the key for success of every community.
No, absolutely. So, folks, I must apologize. I somehow ignored our crick admin, our intern, JD and Wardrobe, who was patiently waiting behind the dark screen to have some, I would say, penetrating questions Jadian, please come in. Go
It's
ahead.
completely okay. Thank you very much, Mariana, for the in-depth presentation. I think it's very thought-provoking. And one question that I thought of during was, for soldiers, do you know what their access to news is like? How important is it for them to know the truth? Because we have evidence that Russian troops are routinely lied to about their losses and conditions of the war. So, do armies try to keep unnecessary information away from them? Or is it better for them to understand the whole picture? Or does it simply just harm morale?
Well, it's pretty interesting question, I guess. Thank you for that. But I guess talking about like two armies, like Ukrainian one and Russian one, we need to understand that I guess in Russia it's like everything is built on this propaganda, and without like if they tell the truth to people, they will be literally without any morale, and without desire to fight. Of course, it's like good for Ukraine, but it's not what the government of Russia want, I guess. In Ukraine, I guess everyone can just check news if they want, and of course, I do hope that Ukrainian government provide Ukrainian soldiers with the right information. Again, it's not the topic I was exploring before that, because it's pretty like military information, I would say. But at the same time, I understand that there is something that is necessary to know for everyone, and hiding any information is not how it should work, especially during the war, because it's a pretty crucial and important thing. So even in Ukrainian society, Ukrainian journalists still have these debates about what information we can share, what we can't share, and I guess in the future we will see the result if we're doing right or not.
Of course, that makes a lot of sense, and I suppose you can see what the priority is with even official news sources in Russia being these. If you've ever read them or watched them, they seem completely ridiculous when contrasted against other evidence. So, what you're saying makes sense in that it appears as though Russian, as a blanket statement, is trying to be the sole voice in what is happening, whereas in Ukraine there's less barriers to information. They're not going to block your internet, they're not going to block certain news channels and say that it's Western poison and such and such. So okay, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Any further question, Gideon?
No further question. It was all
Thanks.
answered.
Thank you so much. So folks, we now have the formal conclusion, and I just wanted to thank Mariana for her time and energy that she has put up this workshop for. And part of the workshop, she actually spoke in Ukrainian. So we are expecting that our Ukrainian citizens, those who have landed recently, and the older generation Canadian Ukrainian, those who live here, would be much benefited out of her presentation. If you have any questions and concerns, please do reach us at Creek, and of course, we will connect Mariana for one-to-one discussions. Before I finally leave the studio today, let me also share with you that Mariana and I were hosted by University of Manitoba UM Cultural media team just a couple of days ago, on Thursday actually. And very soon you will find our discussion online. And please tune in, and you will find Mariana describing in details about her research and how Creek has supported her research through MyTech. Thanks to MyTech for bringing Mariana into Winnipeg and Canada. And we are so happy that she's able to conduct her research. And also in this regard, let me share with you that yesterday, 5 p.m. our time, Winnipeg time, we also hosted a PhD candidate from North Texas University, named Polly Nemkova, and she has had a fascinating research and what she shared with us. She has published an article, and this is also available in our YouTube channel because it was live streamed. So you can have more detailed idea how people are using Telegram channel, and how disinformation and other, especially her focus was human right violation in the war. So how these are detected. So I would also urge upon today to our audience that if you have time and energy and interest, please have a look in this one. And do not forget to subscribe Crick's YouTube channel because we often host important and interesting sessions on disinformation and war on Ukraine. Thank you once again. Take care, all of you, and have a nice rest of the day.